What is up, ladies and gents? I know it's been a long time since I've posted a video, but that's because I took it upon myself to get as much information for you all on console from PC. People gatekeep information and I try my best to make sure it's available to everyone. Now, I don't have as much seed as I do on Xbox, but I can promise you that once the update drops on console, I will be able to max out all the blessings for all the classes to show you what they all are capable of with Mythic 5 S weapons and blessings. Now, this video's focus is specifically for the Ranger class. The best blessing for the singular DPS, not dungeon, but singular DPS, is the Crescent Moon blessing. You can instantly charge your charge moves and keep damage up constantly. To execute the build, you need to use a Crescent Moon blessing. This build is only using A pieces. There's a superior build with S gear, but right now everyone only has access to mostly A grade gear, so it's kind of a moot point to include S gear at the moment. Before you do any build, you always want to focus on your accessories first, because they are rune dependent. If you don't know what runes are, that is for another video to be explained in depth. Now, the necklaces that I recommend that are attainable realistically for A gear is the Spider necklace for crit rate because it only requires 8 whites and grants 4.81% crit rate. It's not optimal, but it is an option. But the best necklace for the build, in my humble opinion, is the necklace of the Twisted Flower because it grants 840 attack power with 14 red runes activated and a 3.47% crit rate bonus with only 2 white rune requirement instead of 8. People will say get the Heartbeat necklace and because it grants 10% crit rate, and I agree that it is a good necklace to go for. However, you need to gain 20 whites and it's much easier to do that with S gear. Going for 20 whites with the Heartbeat necklace on A gear is just not viable. It's much more difficult. It is possible, but it's just absolutely difficult. So until then, focus on the necklace of the Twisted Flower that has so much more to offer. The ring that you want to focus on is either the Ring of the Plague or the Bone Ring. Now, the Ring of the Plague did get nerfed, so it doesn't have lifesteal anymore, but it still has a requirement of 14 whites for 35% crit damage and 2 reds for 96 extra attack power. That would be a good pair up with the Spider Queen necklace or the Heartbeat necklace, but again, there is a superior ring that people may have overlooked, the Bone Ring. If you stack the Twisted Flower necklace with the Bone Ring, they have the exact same requirements. With 14 reds, you get 840 attack power, and with 2 whites instead of crit rate, you're getting an additional 13% crit damage. So on the necklace, you get the crit rate, and on the ring, you get crit damage. You just can't overlook those stats. Weapons that you can use for the Ranger are the Librarian's Bow for the crit damage bow, which is a max roll of 35%, or the Grand Priest Bow for crit rate, max being 6.9, and lastly the Successor's Bow for the max roll of 840 AP. Your best bet will be the Successor Bow for consistent DPS. You can't have good crit damage output if you have no base attack power. The offhand you will be using is the Successor's Quiver, and max roll can consist of 35% extra damage. The headpiece that you will use is the Usurper's headpiece, providing another 35% crit damage if you pull off a max roll. Usurper's headpiece drops in Abbey AoB. The tunic that you will use will either be the Tunic of the Dead, granting 840 AP. If you can't find that in dungeons, you can farm bosses and craft the Hunting Leather Tunic, which does the exact same thing. A lot of pieces, by the way, can also be crafted at the Shaping Bench, but you need to farm bosses for the materials. This applies to most of the A pieces, but you need to at least level Shaping to level 11. The legs that you will use are the Treasure Hunter's Leather Leg Armor. I believe this drops in Depths of Corruption Abyssal. I do apologize if I don't know all the areas where the drops come from, but everything is new, so I need to regather all the information. Now, the Treasure Hunter's legs provide a max roll of 6.9 extra crit rate, so chase for the high rolls. And now I know that Usurper's boots look tempting, but for a viable build that puts out the most damage, you need to have crit rate. So far, most of the Ranger gear doesn't have much crit in its kit compared to Xbox, unless you run the Wolf Blessing. We are running Crescent though, so if you want to run the Usurpers for 840 potential AP, you can, but my recommendation would be crit rate boots, which are the Librarian's boots. Boots and legs will provide almost 14% extra base crit, paired with your class crit bumping you further. No point in stacking crit damage if you don't have any crit rate. Librarian's gear drops from Entropic's Descent. It looks like the Inspector gloves don't exist on PC anymore, so goodbye crit damage. Until you get the S piece, you need to use the Seeker's leather gloves or the Ancestral leather gloves for the 840 base AP, since crit damage gloves don't appear to exist. We've been stacking a lot of AP, so we need to balance this out with crit damage. So for shoulders, you can use the Shoulder Guard's Vigilance for the base AP of 840, but because the Ranger has so many limited options for crit damage now, I would instead focus on the Grand Prix shoulder guards for 35% crit damage, or the crafted versions, which are the hunting leather shoulder guards. It looks like they also removed the crit rate belt on the Ranger. Back then it was a Snake Tracker's belt, but it appears to be gone in this update, so unfortunately there are no viable A pieces. You can suggest the HP belt, but it's just not worth sacrificing damage. The best belt would actually be a C or B belt until you get the crit damage belt that is S tier. Max roll for the Ancient Sentry belt is 4.81. If we add all the crit rate pieces as max rolls, that is 6.9 plus 6.9 plus 4.81 plus 3.47 on the Twisted Flower necklace, which gives you 22.08, not including the class points crit rate. If you use the Heartbeat necklace, your crit rate would be sitting at 28.61 before adding the class points crit rate. You decide how much crit you want, but personally for me, I found that the sweet spot would be around 20 to 30% crit rate before getting diminishing returns. Remember, the S build will far out DPS the A build, so this is just a stepping stone build. I can't fully showcase the potential of this build because not everything is out yet and blessings aren't at max level. But once it drops on console, I will have this all finished and ready to go and showcase. A lot of people tend to showcase their max skill levels but don't realize the way Bless is now is that it's heavily dependent on your blessing level, skill level, and your gear set. You can still hit like a truck without the proper gear, but with the proper gear, it will actually skyrocket. So if you are a Ranger and want to dominate when it comes to console, this is the build to go for the A set. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments below. Join my guild on North American server on PC. Right now it's called Fairy Tail, but I do plan on changing the name, so that way I can help you all. Don't forget to follow the socials, Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at TheGuitarist562. And remember, if you do love the content that I provide and want to share more than just a subscription, feel free to donate through Streamlabs, which will be in my description box below. Until then, thanks guys, stay blessed.